I was a boy when it happened, but I remember it as if it were yesterday. Our village, Mbale, had long been under the rule of Master Okot, a man whose name alone sent shivers through the spines of every slave he commanded. Life under him was not kind. Each morning, before the sun had fully risen, we were given nothing but a small piece of bread and weak tea. That was all. Then, the long hours of labor began, tilling the fields, carrying heavy sacks of grain, and working under the merciless heat of the sun. By the time evening came, we were given our only real meal of the day. It was the one thing that kept us going. But hunger was not the worst of our troubles. Respect, or rather, the lack of it, was what truly broke men. We were spoken to as if we were cattle, beaten for the smallest mistakes, and denied even the dignity of being called by our real names. I, for example, was not Mwenda to them. I was simply boy. Yet, we endured. We had no choice. There was, however, one small mercy. When a man fell sick, he was allowed to rest. It was the only moment when our suffering paused, even if briefly. Then came the day everything changed. Master Okot announced that he was leaving. He had to travel to the coast where his business awaited him. The news sent a ripple of hope through the village, but what truly caught our attention was what he said next. Since I will be gone for many months, someone must rule in my place, and that person must be one of you. For the first time, we saw the possibility of change. A fellow slave, someone who had suffered just as we had, was going to be our leader. The whispers began immediately. Who would it be? Would he finally listen to our cries? Would he end our suffering? Would we finally see justice? When the announcement came, it was Kato who was chosen. Kato, the one who always spoke against Master Okot. Kato, the one who had always been strong, who had been whipped many times for daring to question our treatment. That night, we celebrated in secret. We whispered about the things that would change. Surely, Kato would allow us to rest when we were sick. He would ensure we had lunch. Maybe, just maybe, we would finally be treated like men. But we were wrong. So terribly wrong. The very next morning, Kato gathered us all in the courtyard. His face was different, his eyes cold, his expression hard. He no longer looked like one of us. From today, he said, his voice sharp, there will be no breakfast. You will eat only once a day. If a man is sick, he will still work, and any man who dares to complain will be dealt with more severely than ever before. A silence fell over us. We thought it was a cruel joke, but it was not. That very day, two men who had fallen ill refused to work. Kato made an example of them. He had them beaten so badly that even Master Okot's worst punishment seemed merciful. Whispers turned to fear. Hope turned to despair. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And in those months, something happened that none of us could have ever imagined. We longed for Master Okot's return. The same man we once saw as our greatest oppressor now seemed like the lesser evil. The same rules we once hated, we now missed. It was in that moment that I learned a painful truth. Sometimes, the ones who rise from among us can become worse than the ones who oppressed us from the outside. Years later, when our village finally won its freedom, when we were no longer slaves, I saw the same story repeat itself on a grander scale. New leaders rose, leaders we had fought for, leaders we had trusted. But instead of giving us freedom, they built palaces for themselves. They fed their own bullies while we starved. They silenced those who dared to speak. just as Mr. Okot had done? No, even worse. And one by one, I watched as people left. They fled to the lands of the very men who had once ruled over them, searching for a better life under the old oppressors. It is a cruel irony, one that our people still live with today. And so, whenever a man tells me that freedom has come, I ask him, freedom for who? Because I have seen with my own eyes. Sometimes, the worst chains are the ones put on us by our own people. And that, my friends, is the painful truth many have witnessed. History has shown us time and time again that sometimes the worst oppression comes not from outsiders, but from those we once trusted to lead us. What do you think? Have you seen this happen in your own country or community? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more tales like this from across different nations, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Your support helps keep the stories alive. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and keep the stories going.